I am so excited to bring this video your way like I promised in the previous video, right? And I remember in the previous video I talked about how to use the clone stamp tool and the patch tool to take blemishes off your subject skin. And then I also talked about how to use frequency separation, and I remember saying frequency separation is my favorite method to actually take off blemishes off my subject skin. And so in this video I'll be teaching you guys how to use frequency separation to take off blemishes from your subject skin, and also how to use frequency separation for your general skin retouching in this video. Alright, so without wasting much of our time, let's take a deep dive. Welcome back, guys. So the first thing I want to do is to duplicate my background layer, and to do so I'll just drag it down to this plus icon here, and that will duplicate my background layer. Let me just rename this image for the sake of this tutorial. It's not necessary, but just to help me differentiate between the duplicated image and the background layer. So going further, I want to run my frequency separation action from Retouch Pro. Just come over here, this little arrow here, hit it, and then it will reveal the layers inside the frequency separation folder. So inside the frequency separation folder we have the high frequency layer and the low frequency layer. The low frequency layer, I'll be using that to retouch the image, right, to do the skin retouching. And then the high frequency layer, I'll be using that to clean up the image, take off the blemishes like the pimples, the scars, and every other thing off her face. Turn off the high frequency layer, you observe that the image becomes blurry, and if you turn it back on, the image will become sharp. And the essence of turning off the high frequency layer is to enable us use the low frequency layer to do the skin retouching. With the high frequency layer turned on, you won't really have the desired kind of results that you want. I'll proceed over here and turn off my high frequency layer, and then I'll select the low frequency layer because I'll be using that for the skin retouching. Let me zoom in a little bit. And the next thing I want to do is I'll select my mixer brush tool. I'll come over here and make sure that the clean brush is selected. This second box here is ticked, right? This is left at custom. My wet is set to 30%, my load is set to 30%, my mix is set to 90%, and my flow is set to 100%. And then I will just increase the size of my brush, and to increase the size of my brush I'll just hit the bracket close button, and to reduce it you hit the bracket open button. Before I begin to brush over her face, I'll come over here and make sure that the round soft brush is selected. The reason why I use the round soft brush is because of the edges of our forehead, so that by the time you brush over these places you're going to have smooth forehead, and the edge control, everything will be well laid out. So let me reduce the brush here a little, and then I'll begin to brush or paint over here. What you want to keep in mind while you're doing this is that you will have to be very careful not to paint the highlights into the shadows and to paint the shadows into the highlights. Yeah, because I see a lot of pictures on Instagram and people make that mistake. They just paint over the whole image and not taking into cognizance the highlights and the shadows. Now if you can see around her forehead here, we have highlights here, but around this other part here where I just painted, we have the shadows. Let me turn this on and we can see what I've done. With the little action I just carried out, let's say our before and after. These are before and these are after, these are before and these are after, right? You can see that these are seamlessly smoothing our forehead, and the edge control and everything is looking very neat. So to go further, I'll paint over the highlights now, and I'll just do that carefully. can see that I did not paint the highlight into the shadows or the shadows into the highlight, right? So for the sake of this tutorial, let me just fasten up this process a bit. If you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up and hit the subscription button. I would like to see that this community is growing. Also turn on the notification button, just hit the bell icon so you get notified when next I drop tutorials. But I promise you guys, I'll keep dropping tutorials to help us, learn from each other and also grow in our skills and crafts. Alright, so we're done with the skin retouching. Let's see our before and after. Wow, this is our before and after. Can you guys see the transformation? The before and after, before and after. Wow, I love this so much. So right now, let me show you guys how you can use frequency separation to take off skin blemishes. So right now I'll be working with the high frequency layer. We're done with the low frequency layer. So like I said in the previous video, you can either use the patch tool or the clone stamp tool, right? But while doing frequency separation, I prefer to use the clone stamp tool. So I'll just come over here and select my clone stamp tool, or hit S on your keyboard to select the clone stamp tool. And so to take up the blemishes, I'll just come over here. You see this little pimple here, so I'll come over here, sample from this place, and then paint over here. So to sample, all you need to do is hit your alternate button down and then click on this part and then sample here. You can see it has taken that off. Come over here and do the same thing, hit your alternate button down and begin to clean off the skin of your model or your subject. Now the reason why I said I prefer to use frequency separation is because in the previous video, as a beginner, I will not always recommend you use that, but then it's good you learn to use it. But if you can skip that and come straight to frequency separation, why not? Now a lot of times when you use the clone stamp tool or you use the patch tool, there are always tendencies of you not having a seamless blemish remover. Sometimes when you sample from a particular section of our skin and then you paint over a particular section of our skin, you notice that you're carrying, or rather you're transferring the skin tone from that place to that very blemish you're trying to remove. So but with this one, you can just sample and you won't see any sign at all. Like it's so seamless, it's so clean, it's so neat, right? So this is how I clean up the skin of my subject after running the frequency separation, yes, and then I do the skin retouching and all of that. Now another little secret is that you can actually use this to even out the skin tones of your subject. Yeah, you can actually use this to even out the skin tones of your subject. For this image, I would see if I can show you guys that, but if not, for the sake of this tutorial, I will show you guys in another video. Yeah, so this is it. This is basically what I was talking about. You can see it's so seamless. I love this more. Now you can see this little smile here. I can take off this place or clean up this place and it will look like she never smiled, or probably her skin here never folded, right? Let me just quickly do that and show you guys what I'm talking about to see how important it is, how much you can use frequency separation to do a whole lot of things. before and after, before and after, before and after, before and after. Let me just use this patch tool here for time's sake. You notice what I just did? After I used this layer, to sample this particular part of our skin, I came down here and then did the same thing on this layer. Now that's the only way I can have a seamless skin patch. Get my clone stamp tool and then just even out this place. As for me, come over here and clean up her skin here, take off these wrinkles. You can actually also use frequency separation, to remove eye bags from your model skin, just like you see me doing here. This is the power of frequency separation. Like, you can use it to do a whole lot. Someone will be wondering that since I can use the patch tool, why don't I just use the patch tool, to just take this off? Yeah, you can use the patch tool. Come down here too and do the same. You see that, right? And go back to my clone stamp tool just to even out the skin tones under her eyes. Yeah, just like that. Just come over here and then take off this part too. Talked about using frequency separation to even out skin tones, so this is where we're going to use frequency separation to even out the skin tones. I'll just come over here and you can see it has blended the shadows and the highlight. For this part it's kind of much, but for here this is very okay. And I'll just come over here again and just do the same thing I did earlier. Yeah, this is perfect. So we can see our before and after. Wow, this is beautiful. If you like my videos, please give me a thumbs up and hit the subscription button. I would like to see that this community is growing. Also turn on the notification button, just hit the bell icon so you get notified when next I drop tutorials. But I promise you guys, I'll keep dropping tutorials to help us, learn from each other and also grow in our skills and crafts.